So this is the neighborhood meeting for the City of Spring Lake Park 2026 Street Improvement Project, and thank you all for being here. My name is Phil Gravel. I'm the city engineer, and also staff members here today are Dan Buchholz, the city administrator, and George, the public works director. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask any of us. This year's street project is basically in the northeast corner of the city, and it includes the streets Plaza Boulevard, Theorin Terrace, Center Drive, Sunset Road, and a small portion of the Highway 10 service drive down by the stoplight with Highway 10. The existing streets in this area were last paved in like 1997, so they're pretty old. The surface condition is failing, and that's the purpose of this project, is to repair the surface. And the reason we want to repair the surface now rather than let it get any more damaged is to be able to preserve the subsection underneath the surface. So if we treat the surface now, we can avoid any further damage, which would be a more extensive project. There's cracking, there's bituminous spalling, and there's areas of curb that have settled that we'd like to get repaired. The existing piping under the road is in good shape. Most of the sanitary sewer has been lined, and we haven't had any known problems with the water main. So there's no utility improvements proposed as part of this project, except the drain inlets, the storm sewer catch basins. We plan to repair those because many of them have settled, and this would be a good opportunity to get the top part of those structures rebuilt. The city council ordered a feasibility report for this project, and that's the initial step in any project. The feasibility report follows the past city practice. In particular, our assessment policy is dictated by Resolution 98-48, so you know how old that is. That was from 1998. The feasibility report includes a list of the proposed improvements, a cost estimate, an opinion of probable costs, assessment information, a schedule, and a preliminary assessment role. The components of the project are, as I mentioned, to preserve the street's surface. So the project would consist of a mill and an overlay. And milling is when a machine comes through and grinds off the top section of pavement, in this case 2 inches, and that material gets hauled off site and reused somewhere else. And then after that surface is ground off, if there's any areas identified that need further repair, there below that there'd be some small areas that would get additional patching. And at that time also, any of the short segments of curb, the side concrete curbing that have settled, those would be replaced and raised up to new structures. And we'd also replace those storm inlet drains at that same time. Then after that, there's a new bituminous mat put over the top. That's kind of the final step. The estimated total project cost is $577,200. And of that, assessments would cover $501,592. And the city street funds would pick up the remainder portion as a city cost. That's $75,608 approximately. These are estimates now based on our preliminary numbers. Eventually, the project, if it proceeds, there'd be final design, and then competitive bidding would occur. So there'd be more firm numbers at a later date. And that's what the assessments are based on, the actual bid costs. This is that 1998 assessment policy that I mentioned. Yeah, no need to know all this, but one of the things it says is that for residential properties, the city picks up a large portion of the cost, 55% of the cost. And for non-residential properties, the city's policy is to assess 100% of the street repair costs. So on this project, there's quite a few non-residential properties, and they have that 100% assessment. So the way the assessment rates are calculated is based on, for non-residential properties, based on front footage. And in this case, we take that $500 and some $1,000 amount and divide it by the front footage, and comes up with this front foot rate of $59.57 per front foot. And we also convert that to for residential properties, single family residential properties, we convert that to a uniform per parcel rate, and that rate is $2,456. So those are the estimated assessment rates. As I mentioned, there will be competitive bidding that'll occur in the next few months, and these rates will be adjusted based on the results of that competitive bid. So the schedule for the project, if it as it stands today, is the City Council ordered a feasibility report, and that was received by the council in early March. Now we're at the stage of the public involvement process. So there's this meeting today and the public hearing on April 6th. That public hearing will be at a city council meeting. And if the city council chooses to keep continuing at that process, then there would be an opportunity for them to approve construction plans on April 20th, and then they would authorize bidding. Bids would be received in May, and as I mentioned, the assessment amounts would be adjusted at that time based on final bids. So it'd be another public mailing and public hearing at that time. And on June 15th, there'd be a public meeting where people would know their final assessment amounts. And if the council wants to proceed even at that point, then they would award the construction contract, and construction would begin in July. And it would just take a couple of months, so it'd be done by Labor Day.